Hey, what's up, universe? It is 11:10 a.m. on Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. So there's a few inspirations, just things to note that I'd like to put out there. And I've rewatched the videos that I put out over yesterday, and definitely rough drafts. I believe that the ideas more or less are conveyed well. That what was striking me as I'm watching it again today is that the first video is the creation triangle, right? It's the triangle of life is what could be said, or at least one of the things that I've heard is that like when things fall in a structure, there could be pockets called the triangle of life where you can maybe find shelter or protection. Anyhow, the point being is that it's not just with conflict, right? This triangle of creation is also in moments of lack of conflict and in times of unity or mutual creation, co-creation with somebody else. If truth be told, the first thing that came up, since it's relationships and I was talking about conflict, is, what happens sometimes after you've had a conflict in an intimate relationship. You have makeup sex. And so that's a coming together, right? That's the same idea of the creation triangle in a state that's not conflict. And so the principle of creation between more than one being coming together in a form of unity that is relating to something is the same idea. So it doesn't have to be just conflict. It just came up for me to illustrate using conflict first, or tension. It was another word that came up for me that might be a better word. Conflict just seems maybe slightly more aggressive. Although sometimes in my own experience, some of these dissonant things that have come up, this dissonant resonance has felt actually pretty violent inside of myself. I've definitely confronted things in my own experience that in and of themselves, I think violence, a form of violence, like a type of an aggression, internally it felt that way. I can't give an example, but I know I've absolutely experienced it. So I was using that primarily to demonstrate my own reason for focusing on myself and managing that input that's coming in. And that's the other thing that I was gonna kind of mention too. I know that I believe I've mentioned it before in other videos, but that input, that data coming in, and the meaning that I work to be as conscious as I can, or as present and conscious as I can, so that way I'm the one that's in charge of the meaning that goes into the feeling, and then the emotion, the belief, and the identity, to be the one that has I don't want to say control, but a definite. There's an executive presence in that, where it's like a choice, where I'm the one choosing the meaning and the context and the prompt, being as conscious as I can about that. And how the meaning, if we're going to go for an AI model, the meanings are the weights, right? The way these AI models work is that things are weighted. There's a certain, inference. And so, in our brains, right, this is how patterns work as well. I experience something and it's oh, this is similar to, and then or this reminds me of, again, it's already present in our language, when we speak it. It's just, are we paying attention to what we're saying? Because our truth is present in the language, which is part of the reason I'm doing this project that I'm working on. Let's see, some other things that I was going to talk about was, honestly, I may have just forgotten. It's okay. I know that the main thing with the rough draft, I know one thing I was going to mention too, like a handful of videos ago now, I mentioned masculine and feminine, which is a large topic, and I'm not an expert on anything, and so I just put my ideas out there, and these things I speak freely about them, and I can speak with conviction because that's what I believe, but the truth, at the same time, I acknowledge that the truth is ephemeral. It's in the moment. It's true for right now, yet it can change. It's no different than the trigger that I processed, right? Like in the moment, my truth was that I was angry. Equally true at the same time, I was an individual without a boundary. So there's a lot of times in life, in my own experience, that I have witnessed things where both things, seemingly opposing sides, are... I guess I'm back. All right, I'm going to take that as an indication that I'll go ahead and make this my exit here. One other thing I was going to mention is that today, as far as my internal state and what I'm currently managing, it's not lost on me the date. It's May 30th. Tomorrow's the 31st. The 1st is when rent is due. And so I absolutely felt some anxiety come up. I should scale this, like how do we relate to the magnitude of these things? How do we measure anxiety? How do we measure these feelings, right? I will say that it wasn't as intense as anxiety as I've had before. Like I've mentioned in other videos, but I'd be lying if it didn't come up. And so what causes me to have some anxiety that I found is that, just mentioning to Jason or telling Jason hey, I might be, and I don't even want to speak it, right? Because here's what my struggle is. My struggle is that I'm surrendering. I surrender, I lean into, and I allow myself to be open for completely last minute things to manifest. Because I've seen it in my life. I don't know how many times, things just show up, have you seen those videos on YouTube about, people that celebrate because they think that they've won, but they haven't quite finished, they haven't crossed the finish line yet? It's about hubris. Well, it's like that for me, where it's but it's kind of inverted, where I'm okay, I'm going to just allow the idea, the potential that, this very last minute thing could totally happen, right? And so I have that belief and I practice that belief. And then at the same time, there's the, letting people know and informing and have responsibility and communication and this kind of a thing. And so because there's a lot of people that don't participate in life that way, so just kind of waiting up to the very last minute, it's usually kind of a can you give me a heads up kind of a thing. Not that people are inflexible, and Jason even said that. He's I'm easy to work with, just let me know if there's going to be a delay or whatever. And so I am balancing this, right? Because I'm when do I choose to communicate? Because I feel when I communicate, and this is part of my own internal struggle as well, when I communicate, is that a signal that I'm not trusting and surrendering? I haven't reconciled that, you know what I mean? So that's still something inside of me that comes up every time. And that's what causes my anxiety. If you want to know the truth, that unreconciled cycle causes my anxiety. Wow. All right, I need to look into that. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. Thank you for giving me the time and the space and your presence and your attention and your focus, your love, your support, your grace, your generosity. Thank you. All right, I love you guys. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.